Toasters! Want another glass of whiskey, man? Oh man, you should have seen that game, mate. There we go, buddy. Cheers. We have reason to believe there's a man macking in this building. You're coming with us. Good evening, Mr. Zizler. Take a seat, I'll be right with you. Now, Mr. Zizler, is this your first time making it happen? No, sir. Only against Terran and Zerg. Now, I'm going to hold up some images, and you tell me the first thing that pops into your head. OP! Very good so far. Now this next part's a little bit different. I'm going to ask you some questions and we'll tick them off as we go to see where you're up to. Have you scouted his main base? Have you checked for 3 pylons, his gas and his chrono boost level? Have you scanned his main base at 6 minutes? Excellent, you're doing very good so far. Now on to stage 2.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Hello everyone, welcome to the cast. My name is Feardragon, and today I'm joined here with Tempo Starcraft. Say hello, Tempo.
Hey, what up everybody?
Zizla actually has been making a YouTube series on how to mech, including in Protoss versus Terran, which is the matchup that everyone's just like, okay, look, if you're meching in this matchup, it's a gimmicky thing, it's not gonna fly, you're gonna get just like wrecked by anyone who knows what they're doing. But Zizla really feels like he has a meching style that works, so gets up his own command center, and he opened up gasless for a while, but now we end up seeing double gas geysers coming out.
And it will be a robo immediately, so super standard already.
Yeah.
But with the double factory and the reactor going on the first one, there's also an armory here too, as well as a starport, so it still even almost looked like it would be some kind of Widow Mine drop. There wasn't an armory here. A crazy one.
Yes, seriously. Observer gun coming out from Xeth, and he's gonna have his first little bit of visibility into what Zizla has been doing so far.
And now he sees, oh, whoa, double factory and an armory, as well as a starport with the reactor getting completed. It looks like a lot of Stalkers is gonna be his choice, as well as getting that Twilight. So, he's still committing to the Colossus though. And even if he were to start Immortal production, this is an going ahead. Force field's going down on the bio, but the hellbats are going to drop on all of the Stalkers.
Oh man, and the hellbats are doing a lot of damage to these Stalkers. They're soaking up. God, he has so many Tempo. This is a ridiculous number of hellbats.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, you know how Hellions are pretty okay against Stalkers, right? Well, hellbats are even better if you can get seeing it already as X-Death is realizing that. But what I was trying to say earlier is that imagine if he did open up Immortal, it wouldn't matter because none of these units actually take extra damage from Immortals anyway.
Oh my god, Xdeath gonna be tapping out as the Hellbats. I mean, loading up the Hellbats into the Metamax makes it so difficult because the Protoss players just don't have enough Stalkers at this stage in the game to kill off those Metamax fast enough. They can't really do much about it. And besides that, the Hellbats are only costing minerals. I mean, once you get that armory down, as well as the double factories, you're basically just creating mineral sinks into making things that are hyper tanky. And when they're going to kill off the sentries, they're going to kill off any zealots that are there. And after that, it's just like there's enough of them to deal with the Stalkers. Yeah, very cool build. I want to note behind all this, Zizla was going for the third, which is actually a really cool thing because he could have actually, like, you think about Mech and you think, oh man, this army is going to be really hard to replace. This is not a hard army to replace. Yeah.
Yeah. No, not at all. Like, none of the gas really was showing there, right? You can pretty much do whatever you want, whether it be Cloak Banshee or who knows what.
Yeah.
To follow it up with.
So in my previous video, I touched on Terran vs Protoss Mech as being a series of timings and transitions. So how TvP bio works is that there are key moments in the game where one guy's army is compositionally better than his opponent. And that leads to swings in map control. It's why at the start of the game, Stalkers are so strong, but as soon as medevacs come out, the Stalkers are terrible. The Bio army will absolutely destroy them, which means that the Terran gains map control. And so what's going on here is that at each point of this game, one guy's army is compositionally better than his opponent. TvP Mech is exactly the same. So in my first game casted by the wonderful Tempo and Feardragon, I hit a very strong timing versus a late robo. Because the Protoss player saw I went for a 1-Rax Expo, and I eBay blocked his natural, he should chrono out a Zealot, get a 3rd pylon and take his 2nd gas and get his robo before his Stalker. There is no Reaper coming, so the Stalker isn't needed. As a result, it wasn't until 8 minutes and 30 seconds into the game that he could scout my base, which is far too late to adapt on the fly. Now this may look like a build order win, but it's not. At 6 minutes I scan his main base and I see a robo still building. As soon as I see this, I know I can kill him. All you gotta do is get an armory, get a reactor on your first factory, build a starport, get a reactor on your second factory. As soon as your armory's finished, you get +1 armor so that it'll benefit both your medevacs and your hellbats. And then finally, another reactor on your starport. And you push out with all your marines and all your hellbats at 9 minutes. You attack into any potential early base at 10 minutes if he's playing greedy and you kill it. And then you attack directly into him at 11 minutes. Oh, and one last thing. You're expanding and getting more factories behind it.
Tempo, this is a ridiculous number of hellbats.
Better if you can get, yeah. Seeing it already
God.
So what do you do if the robo's on time? Excellent question.
It still even almost looked like it would be some kind of Widow Mine drop. There wasn't a armory here. A crazy one.
Yes, seriously.
Tempo was 100% right. With the robo opening, the only thing we have to fear is an immortal, which by the way we can defend because we're building mines. That means that we can be insanely greedy and put on an incredible amount of pressure to punish the Protoss player. Instead of mass hellbat dropping a Protoss player that's playing blind, we can instead do a double mine, double medevac drop at 9 minutes and then a second one at 10 minutes. That's 8 Widow Mines in 4 dropships by that time, forcing them to defend in 2 locations at the same time. Now Widow Mines are cheap and they've got a very long build time, which means they're even cheaper. So how cheap are they? Let's do some math. The average gas geyser gives about 100 gas per minute. A single Widow Mine is 75 minerals, 25 gas over 40-second build time. If you convert that to a per minute basis, that means that a single Widow Mine will only cost you 113 minerals and 38 gas per minute.
That's nothing!
We can support 3 Widow Mines of constant production of 1 gas geyser. So what does this have to do with the build? Everything, really. Because our gas isn't being squandered on trying to stay alive in the early game, we can power up our production much faster. Now put yourself in a Protoss's position, and if a double mine drop hits and they don't react, they're dead. So how do they stay alive? They have to build Stalkers. Not only do they have to build Stalkers, they've got to build 2 groups of Stalkers. And this leads into the second thing. This will delay their tech, their upgrades, and will make our siege tank push in the mid game much stronger. On to phase 2. So our Protoss has stabilised and fended off all of our Widow Mine drops, but how they did this was focusing on Stalkers instead of upgrades. By the time they've stabilised and got their army together and pushed, they are walking into a wall of siege tank with Vikings and Hellbat for support. So you fend off any feeble attempts to attack into you, and then you get up to 150 supply and you attack directly into them, hitting a vicious timing to cancel their 4th, put a lot of pressure on their 3rd, you might even kill it, and resetting their Colossi and Immortal count just before we make our final transition. By this stage in the game, the Protoss player has finally got the army and the tech that he needs to deal with siege tanks. So siege tanks are now completely useless, which is why we mix it up and do something crazy. With 3-3 upgrades building, we start building BCs. BCs? But Tempest destroy BCs! Now I know what you're thinking. Battle cruisers? Seriously? And you'd be right. A month ago. The reason for it is this. In the latest balance change, there was an incredibly important aspect of Terran vs Protoss that was completely overlooked by everyone, and that was the swarm host design. Because what the swarm host design did was it changed the matchup for Zerg vs Protoss. Suddenly Zergs didn't have a good way to deal with the Protoss army, so they needed a way to get to Broodlords. And the problem with that was that Broodlords were terrible against Tempest, because Tempests were put in the game to dismantle Broodlord armies. So they changed the way that the Tempest functions. They took away its bonus versus massive army. That means that Tempests are half as good as they used to be versus capital ships. Battle cruisers are back, baby. So how does the Protoss player deal with it? Void Rays, Yamato and Thors. Carriers, Yamato plus a Grand Army. Tempests, PDD, Vikings and Yamato. High Templar, Storm and Feedback. Does that make me laugh? Archons, Yamato, Stalkers. Now you're just playing. Stalkers ain't gonna do shit. And here's the kicker. They can't build robo yet. If they build Immortals or Colossi, you just Yamato them down. That means that you can transition back into a ground mech army to reinforce, and we can compositionally play them again. A hellbat Thor rallied in behind a BC push will destroy anything else that they have. So just a quick conclusion, expand in tech while doing 2 double medevac 4 mine drops, 1 at 9 minutes and 1 at 10 minutes. Hit a siege tank timing at their 4th and their 3rd base between the 13 and 16 minute mark. Begin battle cruisers while pushing and securing a 4th base. Push after 3-3 with 6 or more battle cruisers. Behind your push, rally in hellbat and Thor. So I hope you've liked this guide on dealing with robos. The next part will be called Turning the Tables on Blink, and I'll leave you now with some battle cruiser porn. Enjoy. See you next time.